I was just trapped in a lifestyle of chaos. Walking down the streets, getting kicked out of the house, drugs, girls, manipulating, no hope. If I didn't have alcohol or if I didn't have drugs, it didn't matter what it was. It was just trying to, for that day, I had to do something. It consumed me and it consumed my thoughts. It consumed everything that I stood for. That's what it did to me. It took my soul.
When Miguel was a kid, he was always funny. He loved fishing, loved baseball. Miguel and I would just spend tons of time, like, just having fun together, like laughing. We have so many stories of just laughing together.
It was just really me and my girl and her friends. You know, her friends were all seriously in the drug game. It would just progress from marijuana, acid, X, cocaine. But then once the meth hit, man, it was just, it consumed me and it consumed my thoughts. It consumed everything that I stood for. I felt like that I wasn't worth anything anymore. You know, either if it wasn't drinking, it was doing meth. If it wasn't doing meth, it was doing whatever, you know, just to pass that day. And then the next day, same thing. I just felt like that I was going down a road with my eyes closed and I knew it was at the end of it, but I couldn't see it and I didn't want to see it. You know, I didn't want to see that end.
You know, I knew that he wasn't happy. I knew that it wasn't Miguel. Like, I knew it wasn't. He was gone. Sometimes the only prayer I could get out was, I just want my brother back.
I mean, one time my mom was knocking on the door and I heard her crying and I didn't even open the door because I didn't want her to see me like that.
I felt like he was dead. I mean, that's the honest truth. And I had a brother, but I didn't have a brother, if that makes sense, because of the isolation and the shame. And I needed him.
I was looking for a way out, but my daily life was turmoil within me, like just not wanting to be like that, but I was like that. I wanted to be a brother, a son. I wanted to be a dad.
We had been crying out, my mom and I, just praying and crying and praying and crying, and I think wanted him to get help, but had kind of lost hope on the journey. At the park with my kids and my husband one day in Waco, this man just sharing his story with me and talking about, like, addiction and how he had gotten free. And I was like, well, tell me more about that, you know? And I remember thinking, wow, like, this man did it, and he did it in his 40s. Like, okay, maybe there is a place that my brother can get help. And, you know, and I think I remember telling him, like, you give me hope. Like, just you sharing your story, knowing that you've found freedom through the Mercy House gives me hope. Please pray for my brother. His name's Miguel. At that point, I knew that I could not save him. Like, I knew it was only Jesus that could save him. You know, I just remember continuing trying to just tell my brother, like, there is a place. There are people.
That just gave me a sense of what I wanted, a glimpse of where I can go. It just gave me hope. That was my first glimpse of hope, of freedom.
From there, you know, again, just the Mercy House and finding out who the director of the Mercy House was, and getting Jason Ramos's number. And I remember just Jason saying, like, he would have to call. We have this, we have these services, we're happy to help, but he has to make that first step to call.
She never gave up. She prayed for me, and she was persistent. She was persistent.
I felt like some people around me were like, oh, that's just Miguel, And I'm like, no, that's not Miguel. Miguel was the funny person. Miguel was the one that made me laugh. Miguel was the one that was always there for me. So you say, oh, that's just Miguel. No, I think I got to a point where I was not okay with accepting how he was.
I went back to my ex-girlfriend's house for a weekend that turned into a week. And so I started using again. And my daughter called, and I answered my girlfriend's phone, and she said, Dad, what are you doing there? And she said, Dad, please tell me you're going. Please tell me you're going. She goes, I need you. She started crying, and that was my push to come here. And I made my decision that day that there's nothing gonna stop me, because my kids do need me. Being at the Mercy House, I learned how to control myself, have a relationship with God, talk to God when I start tripping, It was hard when they left. My son, he was hysterical. He thought I was going home with him. And I told him, I said, the only reason I'm here is because I love you. Every day I was getting something. Every day I'd get a scripture from somebody or from a class, or from somebody that would talk, and I would highlight it, write it down, and I'd go read about it. When Jason would walk up every morning, he'd get out of his vehicle, put his backpack on. I'd be on the porch drinking my coffee, and I'd say, "Preacher man," and he'd give me a verse. That was joy for me. That started my day. So I was actually gaining something, and I was learning, and I was actually reading my Bible, which I never read my Bible. We had a CBT book that we did, cognitive behavior therapy. What stuck out with the CBT was reflecting on my drug use and how it affected not just me, but it affected down the line everyone. It's things that I already knew, but it's things that were blocked out of my mind, and then I'd cover it up with alcohol and drugs. And now that it's open in front of me, it just made me think. It just made me think about behavior, tendencies. Man just walks up, and we're just talking, and he said he had been through the program, and he asked how I got to the Mercy House. And I was like, my sister's persistence and her prayers, and that she had met a man in the park, and he told her about the Mercy House. And this man was praying for me and put my name in his Bible. And he was like, wow. He's like, hey, I'm that man, Charles. He said, I put your name in my Bible. Your name is still in my Bible to this day. People can be addicted to a lifestyle just as much as to a drug. And that's where I fell in part. And now there's another lifestyle out there. And that's walking with people that are following God. With Jason and Jose and just my brothers, and just from the beginning to the end, all that in the middle was just amazing.
I feel like as the time went on that he was in the Mercy House, that I was finally starting to get glimpses of the person that I've always imagined him to be. I just remember really thinking he's gonna do this. He's gonna do it, and we're with him, and we're gonna support him all the way.
If you really surrender to the program, you surrender to God, it's a life-changing event. I mean, it just lays the pathway of righteousness.
It gives an opportunity for people to become who God has destined them to be.
graduating from Mercy House, I was excited. I felt it was the first day that I actually completed.
I am so excited to have my brother back and to have our relationship restored. I'm just so excited to see what God does, what God continues to do in his life and in the life of his children.
Makes me realize now that I'm sober how much I really missed. I don't want to miss no more. And I'm thankful now that I can actually be that dad that they can call, the dad that can take my son fishing.
I love that his son gets to see his dad following Jesus. I'm so hopeful of what this is gonna unfold.
Hope for my family, hope that, that God can use me. What I've learned in my walk could help others that are broken.
This is transformation. This is my brother stepping into who I've always seen him to be.
I just don't want to stop what I learned in Waco. I don't want to stop pursuing. It's just a overwhelming feeling of joy that I hadn't had in a while. Overwhelming feeling of peace. I found freedom from my addictions. I found freedoms from a lifestyle of sin and a lifestyle of just destruction through the Mercy House. I'm a sober man. I'm a dad again. I'm healthy. I'm a man of God.